Okay na? The session is called to order. Please rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, pero ang silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyang ka ng magiging, sa manlulupit, di ka masisingil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit o baka, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilig. Lupa ng araw ng waraming pagsikta, buhay ay langit sa piling ko. Aming ligaya dapat may mga ating at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the invocation to be delivered by the Honorable Ruth Mariano Hernandez from the 2nd District of Laguna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let us put ourselves in the presence of the Almighty God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord God, we are most thankful for each time we rise to meet a new day. Please let us all be filled with your Spirit. Let us all desire to worship you in all we do. We beseech you to continually guide us in pursuing what is right and just in the recovery of our people, our country, and our planet. As we continue to rise to the challenges of the pandemic, of climate change, and of pursuing meaningful changes in society. As our country continue for battle the deadliest pandemic in recent memory, we lean on your mercy to get us through. Help us in meeting the challenges of making policies in pursuit of our mandate to serve our people. Grant us the understanding that if we become divided now, we may never see the light at the end of this tunnel. Give us the wisdom to discern that though we may disagree, we need not be torn apart by bitterness and hate. We pray that you may guide us lawmakers, that we may work through in times of disagreements with the idea that we become strong as a nation, not in spite of our differences, but also because of them. Shield us from the distractions that lead us astray. Help us to remain focused on fulfilling our purpose and your call to us to render righteous service, because anything less is a betrayal of the trust given to us by your people. Most of all, we pray for our people who are currently burdened by the hardships brought by this pandemic. We pray for recovery and healing as we strive to unite as a nation and help each other regardless of the differences in our opinions. Help us remember that while our views may differ, we are still bound by the values that truly make us who we are, Filipinos. Unite us in prayer and faith in your mercy so that we may never stray from that path you have shown us. Teach us that times of great challenges are also times of great opportunities and erudition. Above all, strengthen us with hope that we will emerge from this as a better and stronger nation. We lift all of our hope and prayers to you. In Jesus' name, in unity with the Holy Spirit, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.
The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up the reference of business, and may I request that the Secretary General.
Roll call.
Mr. Speaker, may I recall my previous motion and instead move that we call the roll of members.
The Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members, honorable representatives. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Biliones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Co Juanco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cua, Cuaresma, Cueva, Culiamat, Dagoo, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gulyas, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Haloshos, Javier, Jimenez, Ko Eliza, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kay Chong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marinho, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez Malaniaon, Uwaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Martin, Romualdez Ieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvador Tambunting, Sanchez, Sangkopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Savellano, Shaw, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Suansing Estrelita, Suansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tan Alaysa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Chutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Zuarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate Zubiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 298 members responded to the call.
With 298 members present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we proceed with the reference of business. May I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the number and titles of the bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as our communications and committee reports.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the titles of bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as the communications and committee reports for referral to the appropriate committees.
Reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill number 10501, establishing the Iloilo City Geriatric Medical Center by Representative Baronda. To the Committee on Health.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 10505, amending the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998 by Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill number 10507, promoting the use of aeroponics technology to be applied in agriculture production of high value-added crops and vegetable farming by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill number 10508, prescribing and the strengthening of the National Agriculture and Fisheries Extension System to accelerate and fisheries development by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill number 10509, mandating all penal institutions with areas suitable for agriculture to implement agricultural livelihood programs for prisoners by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill number 10510, promoting instructional gardens in primary and secondary school curricula and promoting the use of urban agriculture in all metropolitan areas nationwide by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill number 10511, establishing the National Crop Protection Program by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill number 10512, mandating the national and local governments to purchase the produce of local farmers or producers for relief and school feeding programs by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill number 10513, mandating the National Food Authority to establish rice drying facilities by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill number 10514, penalizing the hoarding, profiteering, price manipulation of rice, and engaging in cartel operations in order to influence the demand and supply of rice in the country by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill number 10518, creating a DFA Extension Office in Tagbilaran City, Bohol by Representative Aumentado.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill number 10520, granting a 50% discount from funeral services to indigent families and free funeral services to extremely poor families nationwide by Representative Duterte.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill number 10523, granting hardship allowance to teachers assigned in remote areas and providing for other measures for their protection by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill number 10524, increasing the salary grade of public school teachers from salary grade 11 to salary grade 15 by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill number 10525, granting a 50% discount from funeral services to indigent families and free funeral services to extremely poor families nationwide by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill number 10526, providing communication and data accessibility and allowance to all basic education teachers during public health emergency and other analogous cases by Representative Yap Eri.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
Resolutions. House Resolution 2361, urging the Committee on Energy to inquire, examine, and assess the country's renewable energy targets with emphasis on the Philippines' transition to 50% renewable energy sources by the year 2030 by Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 2360, adoption of a People's Green New Deal for a just and green economic recovery by Representatives Zarate, Gaite, Culiamat, Brosas, Castro, France, and Elago.
to the Committee on Climate Change,
House Resolution 2363, directing the Committee on Metro Manila Development to investigate the abuses committed by traffic enforcers and corruption prevailing traffic enforcement in Metro Manila by Representatives Pineda, Lacson, Suntay, Padiernos, Daza, D. Faustino Michael.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 2364, authorizing the grant of additional district operational budget for the members of the House of Representatives by Representatives Yap Eric, Velasco, Romualdez, Martin, Paduano, Barbers, Silverio, Robes, Insonmihan, Barba, Crisologo, Irigel, Madrona, and Reyes.
to the Committee on Accounts,
House Resolution 2365, commending and congratulating Brico Ianev Martillo Dumas for winning the Digital for Climate Art Contest for Climate Change at the 26th session of the Conference of Parties to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Glasgow, Scotland by Representative Noel.
to the Committee on Climate Change,
House Resolution 2366, expressing profound condolences to the family of Representative Rolando Uy of the 1st District of Cagayan de Oro and calling on the appropriate House Committee to investigate the death of his son, Roland Sherwin Uy, by Representative Tambunting.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 2367, urging the DFA to extend passport validity of Filipino seafarers and land-based overseas Filipino workers by 2 years, by Representatives Gonzales and Lusotan.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
Communications, letter dated September 28, 2021 of the BCDA President and CEO, submitting to the House a copy of their 2020 BCDA Annual Report.
to the Committee on Basis Conversion,
Letter dated October 6, 2021 of the Chairman and Administrator, Zamboanga City Special Economic Zone Authority and Freeport, submitting to the House a copy of their accomplishment report as of September 30, 2021.
to the Committee on Economic Affairs,
Letters and emails from certain provincial governors, city municipal mayors, and other local government officials informing the House of their reports on fund utilization and status of programs, projects, activities, implementation, relative to Bayanihan Grant to cities, municipalities, provinces, LGSF, and financial assistance to LGUs for certain months of 2021.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letter dated October 8, 2021 of the ERC Chairperson and CEO forwarding to the House a copy of the third quarter 2021 accomplishment report.
To the Committee on Energy.
Letter dated October 12, 2021 of the PLLO Acting Secretary, Presidential Advisor on Legislative Affairs, submitting to the House the details on appropriations, obligations, and disbursements of the PLLO for the quarter ending September 30, 2021.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letters dated November 2 and 9, 2021 of the Acting Director 3, Finance Management and Administrative Service, Tariff Commission, informing the House that certain monthly financial accountability reports as of September 30 and October 31st, 2021 were posted on their website.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letter dated November 9, 2021 of the BSP Deputy Director, Office of General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Annual Audit Report on the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, Cotabato City for the year ending December 31st, 2020.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Committee Reports. Report number 1326 of the Committees on Legislative Franchises and Ways and Means on House Bill number 10506. Report number 1327 of the Committee on Revision of Laws on House Bill number 10515. Report number 1328 and 1329 of the Committees on Tourism and Appropriations on House Bill numbers 10516 and 10517. Report number 1330 of the Committees on Health and Appropriations on House Bill number 10519. Report number 1331 of the Committee on National Defense and Security on House Bill number 10521. Report number 1332 of the Committees on Public Works and Highways and Appropriations on House Bill number 10522. Report number 1333 of the Committee on Appropriations on House Bill number 10373. Report number 1334 of the Committees on Ecology and Ways and Means on House Bill number 10527. Report number 1335 of the Committee on Revision of Laws on House Bill number 10528.
All aforementioned committee reports are referred to the Committee on Rules. What is the pleasure of the Honorable Majority Floor Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move for the approval of Journal number 12 for our session dated November 17, 2021.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. Journal number 12 for Wednesday, November 17, 2021. There being no objection, is hereby approved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today being a Monday, I move that we open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. The Chair declares the privilege hour.
Mr. Speaker, first to avail of our privilege hour, I respectfully move to recognize the Honorable Representative Mark O. Go of the Lone District of Baguio City for his privilege speech.
The Honorable Representative Mark Go of the Lone District of Baguio City is recognized. You may proceed, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Majority Leader, my esteemed colleagues physically present at the House of Representatives, and those joining us through online platforms, a pleasant and fruitful afternoon. Friends and colleagues, I stand on a matter of personal and collective privilege. In 2016, the term Fourth Industrial Revolution was coined, also called Industry 4. This marked the beginning of a new era. The digital revolution was a thing of the past. We now live in the age of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, smart technology, and robotics, among many industrial game changers. Soon after the doors of Industry 4 swung open, Education 4 came in. Education 4 is essentially the newest learning approach, purposely aligned with the emergence of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. At its core, Education 4 is essentially innovation-based learning. It may not be as evident to some right now because the Industry 4 is still at its early stage. But in just a few years, today's students will have to perform jobs that do not even exist right now. And many of the jobs performed now will no longer exist then. Industry 4 is characterized by rapidly changing production. According to an article published in employment platform LinkedIn, an average of 71% of the total task was performed by humans in industries across 12 sectors back in 2018. This figure, however, is expected to be reduced to just 58% in 2022 because of the technological breakthrough. Consistent with this finding, a study of McKinsey Quarterly showed that currently demonstrated technologies could automate 45% of the activities people are now paid to perform. As Industry 4 progresses and more innovations are introduced in the global production, the labor market consequently is bound to evolve and will require skills and competencies different from the demands of today. As such, our education system needs to be responsive to these ongoing disruptions. This is why Education 4 plays a vital role in ensuring the global competitiveness of Filipino graduates. Like many of my colleagues here in Congress, I have two children and grandchildren who are constantly glued to their electronic devices. Taking a break from their laptop and desktop computers means shifting to their phones or iPads instead. According to Digital 2021, Filipinos lead the world in the average time spent using the internet at 10 hours and 56 minutes daily. Of these, 4 hours and 15 minutes are actually spent on social media. There was once a time when basic computer and internet literacy was considered an asset when applying for a job. These days, the use of technology and the internet comes so naturally to millennials and the Generation Z. Computers, tablets, and smartphones seem more like natural extensions of their hands rather than tools or devices. What were once considered science fiction are now everyday realities. Technologies and vast sources of information are quite literally right at the fingertips of our youth. These realities now call us to reflect. Are we capitalizing on these competencies of the new generation and putting them to good use? Do internet-savvy Filipinos have the proper environment to foster innovative thinking and capacity building aligned with the fourth industrial revolution? Are we embracing Education 4? The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the glaring gaps in our education system, from our institutional facilities to personnel competencies, to the patent inequalities among students, which manifest largely in how they're able to cope with the ongoing situation. The pandemic also displayed that the spirit of bayanihan continues to thrive in many of our educational institutions. That being said, this bayanihan, as noble as it is reactionary rather than anticipatory in nature. The whole world was caught off guard by this pandemic, but how the education systems of different countries responded varied greatly depending on the technologies and mechanisms they already had in place. To some degree, the pandemic also hastened our transition to Education 4. It was, of course, under very unfortunate circumstances, but because of the pandemic, we were forced to explore new learning platforms and to capitalize on technology for flexible learning arrangements. And it should be noted that video conferencing and many of these technology-based modes of instructions were already available to us prior to the pandemic. And while there are some institutions who are already making use of these online learning platforms, many are not taking advantage of the different technological advancements in improving the traditional ways of facilitating a class. According to 2019 journal article, the Philippines is way behind in integrating technologies in the education system at par with Cambodia and Vietnam, while regional neighbors like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Japan have already crossed bridge in integrating technological advances in their education system and are already on the course of pushing limits of the usefulness of technologies in aiding the population. The same study also highlighted the fact that our internet speed is 6 times lower than the global average, which of course hinders our education systems and industries from fully utilizing available technologies. I'm aware that many students and faculty members alike are looking forward to the day when we can return to how things were prior to the pandemic. However, even as we endeavor to make our campuses safe again, and as we continue to ensure that the health and welfare of staff, faculty, and students are not compromised, we should not go back to exactly where we were prior to the pandemic. Instead, this should be a time for us to continue reforms to build upon the introduction of flexible learning, to explore more ways of integrating technologies into our education system in a manner that is relevant, sustainable, and inclusive. Under the traditional method of learning, students are merely instructed through a back and forth discussion, and in some degree, learning is limited to that short exchange within a face-to-face setup. Education 4 encourages students to make use of the plethora of tools and resources now available to them. Education 4 is an innovation-based learning. Instead of mere transmission of knowledge, Education 4 values reconstruction of knowledge and learning through actual experiences and practical application. According to the World Economic Forum, there are 3 clusters of skills that are essential in the 21st century: foundational literacies, competencies, and character qualities. Foundational literacies pertain to how students apply core skills to everyday tasks. These include numeracy and scientific and ICT literacy. Competencies refer to how students approach complex challenges. These pertain to like skills like critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. Finally, character qualities are the skills students need to approach their changing environment, such as curiosity, initiative, adaptability, and leadership. These skills that are necessary in the fourth industrial revolution are not developed through mere lectures and class discussions. Embracing Education 4 requires an investment on our higher educational institutions. It was only last year, in the midst of the pandemic, that we began deploying internet connectivity infrastructure to some of the remote SUCs. Across all the industries, cyber-physical systems are becoming more prevalent. How can we prepare our students in this work environment when reliable internet connection remains a challenge? How do we prepare students for industries which make use of smart technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics when our campuses are not equipped with adequate ICT infrastructure, or when ICT development is concentrated only in campuses located in the country's economic hubs? Right now, CHED is leading the development of smart campuses in several universities across the country. We need to support and expand this initiative to ensure countryside development. Investment in higher education institutions necessarily includes investing on teacher education and the competency building of faculty members. With the Education 4 approach, teachers are no longer the primary source of knowledge, but the environment and the facilities itself. The teachers will then be facilitators of learning and developing and knowledge building. A culture of innovation can only foster if the teacher is an innovator himself. Unfortunately, a 2016 study shows a high level of resistance among educators towards the use of technologies in the classroom. Among higher education institutions, there is high regard for the traditional method of teaching. An article from the QS Network further points out that there are members of the academe who believes that flexibility, as opposed to the traditional structure, makes institution look of lower quality. We need to change this perspective among many members of the academe and equip them with the proper tools for curriculum development, instruction, and assessment. In addition, given that continuous learning and collaborative work are essential in Industry 4, teachers themselves should be able to exemplify these values in order to remain abreast with the updated concepts relevant to their discipline and to emerging industries, as well as to contribute to the generation of knowledge. However, according to the latest available figures from CHED, around 46% of faculty members from public and private institutions combined are only bachelor's degree holders. We need to incentivize the innovation and capacity building among faculty members to ensure that integration of technologies and adoption of new methods of teaching should be sustainable. In addition, given that Education 4 is anchored on the needs of the Industry 4, we have to identify the needs of the current and emerging industries in the Philippines and worldwide. Technologies that will prevail under the Industry 4 includes robotics, artificial intelligence, and synthetic biology. The use of big data in business will continue to create new business models, as we have seen in the past years, with the likes of Facebook, Grab, Airbnb, and Alibaba, which became huge disruptors in their respective industries. During the last Congress, we were able to finally pass the landmark Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Law. And now that the Filipino public is fully subsidizing the tertiary education of college students in SUCs and LUCs, and also providing significant subsidies to private college students, I believe that we must be more vigilant in ensuring that Filipino college students receive the right education that is relevant to the demands of the industries and of the Philippine society. There has to be efficient transmission lines between industries and higher education institutions to ensure that the skills developed in the campuses are relevant to the work needed in the industries. Schools and industries need avenues for collaboration in areas like curriculum development, practical training, and certification of professions. To clarify, Education 4 is an approach to learning, and therefore it is not limited to just any particular course or field of study. That being said, in equipping Filipinos for the fourth industrial revolution, I think that we must also examine the current distribution of our students among the different disciplines. Before every academic year, CHED releases a memorandum that enumerates the priority courses for CHED scholarship programs. This list is developed to encourage students to take courses aligned with global innovation platforms like science, technology, engineering, agri-fisheries, and mathematics, as well as courses relevant to key growth areas in the Philippines, such as semiconductor and electronics, BPO, tourism, manufacturing, and infrastructure. However, most of our students are not enrolled in these fields. More than 1 in 4 students are enrolled in business administration and other related courses. 1 in 5 students are enrolled in education and teacher training. In this regard, the challenge for us is twofold. How do we encourage the youth to pursue studies in the priority courses identified as essential in emerging industries? And how to make sure that regardless of the degree they finish, our graduates are prepared for work in the fourth industrial revolution. Finally, I believe that it's also prudent that we recognize some of the undesirable effects of the introduction of these new technologies. In order to address them better, of these, the most glaring thus far in our recent experience is how socially disconnected the students have become. Physical interaction and free communication are essential to the holistic development of a student. The almost 2 years of isolation of our students from their peers and their teachers has adversely affected the mental health and wellness of many of our students. Higher education institutions are supposed to prepare students and equip them to thrive in the real world after they graduate. And in order to thrive in the world, even in this age of the fourth industrial revolution, our graduates need more than just academic preparedness. Ensuring the state of the students' mental health and allowing them to develop their social skills should also be a priority of higher education institutions, especially as we continue to implement a policy of flexible learning and endeavor to introduce new learning modalities consistent with Education 4. At the end of the day, our goal is not to turn our students into highly efficient robots. Our goal is to produce graduates who are not just equipped to push boundaries and innovate, but graduates who also are equipped with the proper values, social consciousness, and holistic well-being that will allow them to turn these innovations into meaningful catalysts for change in the lives of our people. The global economic and technological landscape is evolving at a pace we have not seen before, and our approaches to education must evolve along with it, as education does not exist in a vacuum. As legislator, we have the power to ensure that our graduates will become active participants in this ongoing fourth industrial revolution, and not just mere spectators. As Benjamin Franklin once said, and I quote, "An investment in education always pays the highest returns," unquote. As the fourth industrial revolution develops right before our eyes, so does modes of knowledge generation and transmission become more dynamic. My honorable colleagues, we need to fast-track the upgrading of our education system. We need to let our students share in the benefit of this IT-driven global environment. The pandemic has already proven that our institutions and our people have a culture of resilience. Now we must encourage a culture of innovation. It is high time that we stop playing catch up with the rest of the world and be at the forefront of development. Let us invest in aligning our education system with the fourth industrial revolution. Let us invest in the future of this nation. Thank you very much at magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat.
The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member to interpellate, I move that we defer the privileged speech of the Honorable Go to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action.
The privileged speech is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, next to avail of our privilege hour, I move that we recognize the Honorable Sabiniano S. Kanama of Party List Co-op NATCO for his privileged speech.
The Honorable Representative Sabiniano Kanama of Party List Co-op NATCO is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues on this 18th Congress, with great honor and pride, I rise and speak before this august chamber to manifest my deep appreciation and recognition to the contribution of the cooperatives in nation building, the cooperatives, the sector I represent and truly belong. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, last month of October was memorable and momentous as cooperatives all over the country celebrated the National Cooperative Month after the enactment of Republic Act 11502, declaring every month of October as the National Cooperative Month all over the country. We most especially and sincerely thank our beloved President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, for gracing the kick-off activity last October 1 during the virtual meeting, the gathering of cooperatives. We were all inspired, the leaders of the movement, of his presence. During the whole month of October, all cooperatives, all of the stakeholders of the sector were in unison to commemorate the Cooperative Month, emphasizing the strength of cooperatives in this pandemic. We have the theme, Kooperatibang Matatag, tumutugon sa mga hamon, daan sa pagbangon, nagbibigay pag-asa sa makabagong panahon. In these trying times, cooperatives have shown resilience and were steadfast to face the challenges of COVID-19. Cooperatives continue to provide the needs of members and communities. Cooperatives stood on the front lines, continued giving financial assistance, food packs, hygiene kits, and many others to members and communities. Other co-ops worked on consolidating farm produce and set up various community pantries. In all of these endeavors and many other community services, cooperatives proven that cooperatives have a great role in community development. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, equally significant for the cooperatives is the passage of Republic Act 11535. This is the act making the position of cooperative development officers as mandatory in all the local government units. The law is most beneficial, especially for the micro and small cooperatives, because of the provision of the technical and enterprise undertakings. This will further strengthen the ties between the LGU and, of course, the cooperative sector. Mr. Speaker, my esteemed colleagues, as one of the principal authors of this bill in Congress, I extend my deepest thanks to our dear Speaker, Lord Alan Velasco, and of course to Congresswoman Estelita Sonsing and the chairperson of the Committee on Cooperatives, Congressman Presley Jesus, and to all those who had been very supportive in our efforts to advance the cause of cooperatives. So, Mr. Speaker and my dear colleagues, this humble representation of COPNATCO party list is also grateful for the passage by this House various resolutions commending cooperatives across the country. In Luzon, we have Paau Multipurpose Cooperative, Santa Cruz Savings and Development Cooperative, San Jose Sico Landfill Multipurpose Cooperative, Nueva Sigubia Consortium of Cooperatives, Bagong Barrio Multipurpose Cooperative. In Visayas, Barbasa Multipurpose Cooperative, Dumaguete Cathedral Community Credit Cooperative, Cooperativa Naton Multipurpose Cooperative, Cebu People's Multipurpose Cooperative. And in Mindanao, we have MASPIC or Mindanao Alliance of Self-Help Society Southern Philippines Educational Cooperative Center and Litolit Consumers Cooperative. These co-ops are models in their respective areas and to the whole country. They espouse the right cooperative discipline, financial management, and governance. There are still many other co-ops on the ground which have performed well in their respective clusters and subsectors, and we will continue to reach out to them so that they too will be afforded the same equal commendation in the future. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, in behalf of the cooperative sector, may also take this privilege to express our thanks and gratitude to the various national agencies who extended many support and all of the programs which directly benefited the co-ops and the members. The Department of Trade and Industry, led by Secretary Ramon Lopez, the Cooperatives Development Authority, led by the listening CDA Chair, Joseph N. Cabo, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, with Secretary Jose Rolando Bautista, the Department of Interior and Local Government, led by Secretary General Eduardo Anyo. TISDA, with Secretary Isidro Lapina, the Department of Labor and Employment, with Secretary Silvestre Villo, the Department of Health, with Secretary Francisco Doki, the Department of Agriculture and all its attached agencies, with Secretary William Dar, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, under the leadership of Commissioner Cesar Dulay, the Department of Transportation and all its attached agencies, especially the LTFRB, the Secretary led by Arthur Tugadi. All of this we would like to thank because the cooperatives benefited their services. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, allow me to seek again from this August chamber to expedite the passage of several pending bills which your humble representation has already filed, and hopefully with the remaining days of the 18th Congress, these bills, which are all for the benefits of the co-ops, will be finally approved. In closing, Mr. Speaker, allow me to end my speech by quoting Pope Francis. Money at the service of life can be managed in the right way by cooperatives, on condition that it is real cooperatives where capital does not have command over people, but people over capital. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. Mabuhay po ang kilusang kooperatiba. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Kanama to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action.
Is there an objection? Chair is none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Arnulfo Arnie A. Teves of the 3rd District of Negros Oriental for his privileged speech.
The Honorable Deputy Speaker Arnulfo Arni Teves, representative of the 3rd District of Negros Oriental, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm here again today to speak about an experience that happened to me last week. Naglanding kami doon sa Clark International Airport. Merong terminal sana doon dati na maliit para sa mga private na aircraft. Dati may banyo doon na nagagamit. Ngayon, nagulat ako pagkababa ko sa eroplano, para kaming aso na binubugaw nung tao doon sa opisina. Na para kaming hindi naman parang sa Bisaya maraming iro nga gibugaw dili paadtuon pagion sa ilang opisina. But still I went on to walk to that office because as far as I know, yun yung terminal ng private aircraft. Tinuturo nila kami doon dumaan sa gate, ang init. So pagdating ko doon sa opisina, sinalubong ako nung mga tao doon, ang yayabang na, ang susungit. So, tinanong ko, ano na ba to ngayon? Opisina daw ng Lipad Corporation. Sabi ko, ano tong Lipad Corporation? Sila daw nagpapatakbo ng Clark. Sabi ko, pwede ba makiihi lang? Hindi daw pwede, bawal. Ang tanong ko ngayon, hindi kaysa nagpapa-VIP ako or ano. Wala naman talagang maihian dun eh. Pwera lang sa lugar na yon. Sabi nila, private corporation daw sila. Alam ko kasi building ng gobyerno yon eh. Be it a private corporation or government, kahit humanitarian reason na lang, dapat payagan nila yung tao umihi doon. Anong mangyayari kung meron tayong mga investor, mga VIP na maglalanding sa Clark at gusto lang makiihi, kahit makisilong na lang para hindi mainitan? Bawal pala sa building na yon. Dahil dito sa mga mayayabang at masusungit na tao ng Lipad Corporation. Gusto ko malaman kung sino to sila. At gusto ko rin tanungin, dahil ginagamit nila yung opisina na yon, wala na bang mapupuntahan yung mga tao na lalapag sa Clark na nakasakay sa gamit nilang aircraft, no? Because hindi ka naman pwede doon sa commercial na terminal. Kung tama sila, hindi ko maintindihan bakit kanina nagpapatawag sila sa opisina ko. Gusto may pag-usap at mag-apologize daw. Sabi ko, kung gusto niyo mag-apologize, pumunta kayo dito sa Kongreso. Sana lang hindi ito payagan ng gobyerno. Kung private man ito, na pinayagan magrenta or gumamit ng opisina ng gobyerno, sana naman mapagsabihan na maging humanitarian naman sila. Again, if this terminal building is being given to a private corporation, the government should provide another building that would serve the same purpose, na masilungan at maihian man or magamitan man ng banyo ng sino mang lalapag sa Clark Airport. That's all, Mr. Speaker. Sana lang maturuan ng leksyon tong mga tao na to. Masyado talaga silang masungit at mayabang pa. Thank you very much. Good afternoon again, everybody.
The Honorable Floor Leader. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There being no member to interpolate the Honorable Teves, I move that his privileged speech be referred to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Here is none. The motion is approved.
Finally, Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Arlene Brosas of Party List Gabriela for her privileged speech.
The Honorable Representative Arlene Brosas of Party List Gabriela is now recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Sa kabila ng matinding krisis sa kalusugan at ekonomiya, ipinagdiriwang ng kababaihan sa buong mundo ang International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women o IDVAW. Kasabay nito ang taunang pagtatakda ng November 25 bilang National Consciousness Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children sa bisa ng Republic Act 10398. Isa sa mga batas na matagumpay na ipinanukala ng Gabriela Women's Party. Ang violence against women and children o karahasan sa kababaihan at kabataan ay nananatiling isa sa mga pinakatalamak na forma ng paglabag sa karapatang pantao. At pinalala ito hindi lamang ng pandemya, kundi ng kultura ng impunidad na namamayani sa Pilipinas. Sinamantala ng gobyernong Duterte ang pandemya upang lalo pang patindihin ang paglabag sa karapatan ng karaniwang tao, habang inaabswelto ang mga militar, pulis at mga may kaya't impluwensya sa lipunan. Based on the data from the Department of National Defense, from 2019 to 2021, there's a total of 439 out of 559 resolved cases in the Philippine Army, Philippine Air Force, Philippine Navy, at General Headquarters. However, despite being labeled as a resolved case, none of the perpetrators were penalized criminally, nor administratively. Sa 559 cases, 120 ay pending pa rin. Hindi pa rin nare-resolba at wala pa rin napapanagot. This representation also filed an investigation on the rising cases of rape and sexual abuse perpetrated by police officers. According to the Center for Women's Resources, from March to October 2020, the height of enhanced community quarantine in the country, there were 5 cases of rape and sexual assault perpetrated by police forces. And one of them is the case of Abel Pineda. Walang makakalimot sa sinapit ni Fabel, isang 15-year-old sa Ilocos Sur, at kanyang pinsan na ginahasa ng 2 pulis na sina Staff Sergeant Randy Ramos at Staff Sergeant Marawi Torda. Sinita sila dahil di umano sa paglabag sa quarantine protocols, pero imbis na iuwi sa kanilang pamilya, dinala silang 2 sa liblib na lugar at ginahasa. Habang pauwi si Fabel kasama ang kanyang tiyuhin matapos magreklamo sa police station, binaril ng 5 beses si Fabel ng riding in tandem at agad na namatay. Hanggang ngayon, wala pa ring hustisya ang sinapit niya. Lumalabas na napakaraming kaso ng violence against women and children mula sa AFP-PNP uniform personnel at napakarami ring kaso ang tila ibinabaon na lamang sa limot, habang ang mga biktima ay habang buhay na bibit-biti ng trauma at inhustisya na dinanas sa kamay ng mga nasa kapangyarihan. The state-sponsored violence against human rights advocates has also intensified. Noong November 14, hinuli ang isang kilalang women and children's rights NGO, non-government organization leader, na si Maria Salome Sally Crisostomo Ohano sa kanyang bahay sa Malolos, Bulacan dahil sa gawa-gawang kasong rebelyon. Ohano, who is already 64 years old, is the national coordinator of the Philippines Against Child Trafficking or PACT since 2008. She was nabbed based on an Arroyo regime rebellion case which was filed way back in November 2006, or 15 years ago. Habang ang mga napatunayang mandarambong na nagnakaw sa kabanang bayan, halimbawa Imelda Marcos, Juan Ponce Enrile ay nananatiling malaya, ang mga katulad ni Sally Ojano, Moreta Alegre, Reyna Nasino, at iba pa ay nananatiling nakakulong dahil sa mga gawa-gawang kaso. Their arrest points to the absurdity of the AFP-PNP's operations against perceived enemies of the state and a manifestation of our distorted justice system that only caters to the rich and powerful. Also, one of the classic examples would be the case of Julian Ong Pin, who recently walked free after getting caught with more than 12 grams of cocaine, which is non-bailable offense under Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. He is also a person of interest in the death of a young visual artist, Brianna Bree Johnson, who was discovered lifeless in the room she shared with Ong Pin in a resort in La Union last September 18. Despite witnesses claiming that they heard Ong Pin and Johnson fighting hours before she died, the National Bureau of Investigation said that it has yet to look into any criminal angle. Napakabagal ng hustisya para sa kababaihan, habang ang mga bilyonaryo at may kapit sa gobyerno ay malayang nakakalusot sa batas. Under the Duterte regime, men in power, particularly those who the president favors, were given a free pass to abuse women and children. In the 74-page indictment charge to Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, who is President Duterte's staunch ally and so-called spiritual advisor, was reportedly accused of forcing young girls and women to have sex with him under threats of eternal damnation. This rabid dagger coerced pastorals to do such acts labeled as night duty. And despite these sex trafficking charges, President Duterte is still mum about the issue. Quiboloy remains as his spiritual advisor, and the victims are still painfully waiting for the long overdue justice that they deserve. Ito ang huling komemorasyon ng Aidibao sa ilalim ng pamumuno ni President Duterte. Ngunit hindi rito nagtatapos ang pagkilala ng bawat mamamayan sa malalang sitwasyon na sinapit ng kababaihan sa ilalim ng gobyernong mapang-api at mapagsamantala. Huwag natin hayaan na manaig ang Duterte legacy na tadtad ng paglabag sa karapatang pantao. Ating pigilan ang pagpapatuloy ng legasiyang pahirap at walang puwang sa nararanasan ng mga Pilipinong sawang-sawa na sa bulok na sistema ng gobyerno. Ang pag-commemorate ng National Consciousness Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children ay gawin din nating oportunidad para itaas ang antas ng kaalaman ng ating mamamayan kaugnay ng pagrespeto sa karapatan ng kababaihan at bata, na ang karahasan sa kababaihan ay hindi normal, hindi katanggap-tanggap at dapat managot at parusahan ang may sala. Kaya labanan ng abuso sa kababaihan at bata, panagutin ang mga may sala sa paglabag sa karapatang pantao. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate the Honorable Brosas, I move that we refer her privileged speech to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The privileged speech is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we close the privilege hour.
Motion to close the privilege hour. There being no objection, the privilege hour is hereby closed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Bill number 10319 contained in Committee Report number 1274, and may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill.
House Bill number 10319, an act providing for a 30-year national infrastructure program.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader.
I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Motion to open the period of sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? Chair is none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Madrona to deliver his sponsorship speech for House Bill number 10319.
The Honorable Madrona is hereby recognized for his sponsorship speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I am pleased to sponsor House Bill number 10319, entitled An Act Providing a 30-Year National Infrastructure Program. As Chairman of the Committee on Public Works and Highways, I join and thank the 46 other members of this chamber who have co-authored this significant legislative measure. We need to enact a 30-year infra program through this bill for several reasons. First, the 30-year infrastructure program will provide the framework for the locations, magnitudes, linkages, and timing of public and private investments in our major infrastructure over the next 3 decades. Second, we need a 30-year program to rationalize, seamlessly interconnect our traditional 6-year medium-term and annual infrastructure programs. Third, the 30-year program will ensure continuity in the development and implementation of projects across administrations, regardless of changes in national leadership. Fourth, the 30-year program will serve as a predictable roadmap for major infrastructure projects to guide the construction industry, investors, and related sectors in their long-term business plans. Fifth, the 30-year program will help realize the vision of Ambition Natin 2040, wherein by the middle of this century, the Philippines will be progressive, mainly middle class, where nobody is poor and the citizens are smart, innovative, and enjoying healthy lives, living in a high-trust community. And sixth, recent typhoons, floods, and other disasters, coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, underscore the need for a 30-year program that will provide more effective and durable engineering measures to address these calamities. Let me now summarize the main provisions of House Bill number 10319. The bill adopts a 30-year national infrastructure program covering 6 major sectors, namely transport and logistics, energy, water resources, information and communications technology, social and agri-fisheries modernization, and logistics infrastructure. 2. House Bill 10319 lays down the key policies and strategies to select and prioritize the component national infrastructure projects in the program. C. The bill defines the responsibilities of implementing agencies in the development and execution of the 30-year national infrastructure program by sector. D. The bill includes an initial list of priority core national infrastructure projects in the agency pipelines, subject to regular updating by NEDA in coordination with the oversight and implementing agencies. E. House Bill number 10319 provides for the formulation and periodic updating of the detailed 30-year program by NEDA in coordination with oversight and implementing agencies, including the selection and prioritization of projects, their scopes, costs, fundings, and schedules. F. An annual budget allocation for infrastructure of at least 5% of the GDP shall be provided, consistent with the Development Budget Coordination Committee ceilings. G. The bill provides appropriate project financing and implementation modalities and criteria. H. The 30-year program will serve as the basis for medium-term and annual programming and budgeting for infrastructure, including the formulation of the yearly national expenditure programs and general appropriation acts. I. The bill provides for the use of applicable digital modern technology, including electronic bidding and building information modeling for more efficient project management. With this, I would like to thank the various stakeholders that provided valuable inputs in the formulation of this bill. They include the oversight and implementing agencies of the government involved in infrastructure. They also include representatives from the private sector, especially the construction industry and business groups concerned. In conclusion, given the far-reaching, profound, and long-term benefits that the country stands to gain from House Bill number 10319, your humble representation earnestly requests that this august body to approve this landmark legislation. Thank you very much.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 10319.
10319.
House Bill number 10319, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to suspend consideration of House Bill 10319. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. May I move that we consider House Bill 10296 as contained in Committee Report 1263. And may we task the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General.
House Bill number 10296, an act intensifying local government participation in national development by increasing the share of local government units in national taxes, amending for the purpose Section 284 of Republic Act number 7160 as amended, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the honorable gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Let's open the period of interpellation and debate and recognize Representative Defensor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10296 be adopted as the sponsorship speech of the said bill.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpellate, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10296 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10296 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10296 is now approved on second reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10392 as contained in Committee Report 1299 and task the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10392, an act requiring local government units to earmark at least 15% of their national tax allotment share for health services, amending for the purpose Section 287 of Republic Act number 7160 as amended, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1991.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the Honorable Lawrence Defensor for his sponsorship.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10392 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who wishes to interpolate, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10392 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10392 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. The House Bill 10392 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10305 as contained in Committee Report 1269 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10305, an act mandating the playing of Philippine music in hotels, resorts, restaurants, tourist buses, and all international flights coming into the Philippines and providing penalties for violations thereof.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10305 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of individual and committee amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10305 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10305 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10305 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10329 as contained in Committee Report 1282 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10329, an act establishing the public schools of the future in technology and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
Are there any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10329 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signify their intention to interpolate, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee or individual amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion's carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no individual or committee amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion's carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10329 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10329 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10329 is now approved on second reading.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. May I move that we consider House Bill 10388 as contained in Committee Report 1298 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10388, an act mandating the allocation of an area for information and communication technology infrastructure and facilities in subdivisions and housing development projects.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10388 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that no member signified their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10388 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10388 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10388 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move for the consideration of House Bill 10410 as contained in Committee Report 1301 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10410, an act promoting inclusive and sustainable productivity growth, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 6971, otherwise known as the Productivity Incentives Act of 1990.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10410 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signified their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10410 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10410 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10410 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10372 as contained in Committee Report 1295 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10372, an act repealing the Reserva Troncal provision under Article 891 of Republic Act number 386 as amended, otherwise known as the New Civil Code of the Philippines.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10372 be adopted as its sponsorship speech.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signified their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10372 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10372 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10372 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10455 as contained in Committee Report 1311 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10455, an act simplifying the definition of the term year, amending for the purpose Article 13 of Republic Act number 386, otherwise known as the New Civil Code of the Philippines, and Section 31 of Executive Order number 292, otherwise known as the Administrative Code of 1987.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10455 be adopted as its sponsorship speech.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signified their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10455 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10455 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10455 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10453 as contained in Committee Report 1309 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10453, an act institutionalizing a Philippine self-reliant defense posture program and promoting the development of a national defense industry pursuant thereto.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10453 be adopted as the sponsorship speech of the said bill.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signify their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10453 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10453 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10453 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10459 as contained in Committee Report 1314 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10459, an act providing for the right of married women to retain their maiden surnames, amending for the purpose Article 370, Republic Act number 386 as amended, otherwise known as the New Civil Code of the Philippines.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for the sponsorship of the said measure.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10459 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signified their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10459 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10459 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10459 is now approved on second reading.
Mr.
Majority.
Speaker, may I move we consider House Bill 10373 as contained in Committee Report 1333 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the said measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10373, an act extending the availability of the 2021 appropriations to December 31st, 2022, amending for the purpose Section 62 of the General Provisions of Republic Act number 11518, the General Appropriations Act of Fiscal Year 2021.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor.
Are there any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10373 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
Are there any objections? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who have signified the intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Are there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we adopt the amendments made under Committee Report 1333.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10373 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10373 as amended on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10373 as amended is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 3255 as contained in Committee Report 1293 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General.
House Bill number 3255, an act providing for the establishment of a Timbangan ng Bayan Center in all markets nationwide, amending for the purpose Chapter 2 of Republic Act number 7394, otherwise known as the Consumer Act of the Philippines.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 3255 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no members who signified their intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we adopt the committee amendments as contained in Committee Report 1293.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we close the period of committee amendments.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of individual amendments.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 3255 on second reading as amended.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 3255 as amended on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 3255 as amended is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve that we consider House Bill 10330 as contained in Committee Report 1283 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General.
House Bill number 10330, an act creating the National Museum of Filipino Women and appropriating funds therefor.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the Honorable Gentleman from Iloilo, Representative Lawrence Defensor, for his sponsorship.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Defensor is now recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the explanatory note of House Bill number 10330 be adopted as the sponsorship speech.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, there being no members who signified the intention to interpolate the sponsor, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of committee and individual amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no committee or individual amendments, may I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we approve House Bill 10330 on second reading.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 10330 on second reading. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 10330 is now approved on second reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10488 as contained in Committee Report 1322 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10488, an act reducing the excise tax on certain petroleum products, amending for the purpose Section 148 and adding Sections 148-B and 148-C in the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate and recognize the Honorable Sharon Garin, Chairperson of the Committee on Economic Affairs, for her sponsorship.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Representative Sharon Garin is now recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. The prices of petroleum products have been steadily increasing in the past month, and its accompanying burden has been particularly heavy for the poorest members of our society. Mr. Speaker, for the past year, the net increase in the pump prices of gasoline, diesel, and kerosene ranged from 15 to 19 per liter. This acceleration in fuel prices triggered steep prices of basic commodities, affecting everyone, hitting our PUV, drivers, and operators the hardest. These hardships are on top of the dire effects of the pandemic, which still burdens all members of the society. To mitigate the ill effects of high fuel prices and provide the most immediate relief to the heavily affected sectors, we, together with Chairman of the committee, Congressman Salceda, the Committee on Ways and Means, are honored to present today House Bill number 10488. The bill proposes to reduce the excise tax rate on certain petroleum products for a period of 6 months, provided that the rates will revert when certain thresholds are reached. In particular, the 10 pesos per liter excise tax on gasoline with 91 research octane number or RON and below will be reduced to the pre-train rate of 4 pesos and 35 centavos per liter and 7 pesos per liter for gasoline with the above 91 RON. On the other hand, excise tax on petroleum products, which are patronized by the middle to lower income households, namely kerosene, diesel, and LPG, will be reduced to zero from the present 5 pesos per liter, 6 pesos per liter, and 3 pesos per liter, respectively. The bill was carefully crafted to safeguard government tax collection, which is crucial for our economic recovery. The bill provides that when the average Dubai crude oil price based on mean of Platts Singapore lowers to $65, the excise tax rates for gasoline, kerosene, and diesel will revert to their regular rate. The same is applicable to LPG when the Saudi Aramco contract price declines to $580. Moreover, if the average Dubai crude oil price drops to $45 for the 3 consecutive months, an additional tax of 2 pesos per liter will be imposed on gasoline, diesel, fuel oil, and other similar fuel oils. The revenues from this additional tax shall constitute the Social Impact Stabilization Fund, which will be utilized in providing cash aid to affected sectors during the periods of high petroleum prices. This is something that we should have done a long time ago. We seek the support of the members of this body in approving this measure to ease the burdens of our countrymen without binding the administration's fiscal policy. The Committee on Ways and Means acted fast, submitting the committee report within 6 days after the session was opened. We trust in our leaders and colleagues that the plenary can do better. Thank you and good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Honorable Ferdy Gaite of Party List Bayan Muna for his sponsorship.
Salamat po, kagalang-galang Speaker. Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. Kinararangal po namin na maging isang na-sponsor ang panukalang batas House Bill 10488, an act reducing the excise tax on certain petroleum products, amending for the purpose Section 148 and adding Sections 148-B and 148C in the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended. Sa kabatiran ng ating mga kasamahan sa Kongreso, isa sa mga unang final ng Bayan Muna at ang Makabayang Koalisyon ay ang House Bill 243 na ang layunin ay ibalik sa tanggalin ang mga regresibo at hindi mahirap na taxation sa ilalim ng Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion Act o what is now known as Train Law. Kami po ay matagal nang nakita ang masamang epekto sa mga mamamayan, lalo na sa usapin ng mga pagtaas ng presyo ng produktong petrolyo. Kung kaya't ang aming panawagan ay dapat tanggalin ang excise tax sa mga produktong petrolyo, lalo na yung ginagamit ng ordinaryo mga mamamayan tulad ng LPG, diesel at kerosene. At ang panawagan namin ay tanggalin. Nevertheless, the current version that was approved through the Committee on Ways and Means provided for a reduction, which we believe kahit paano yung makakatulong. Bagamat ang gusto nga na namin ay hindi lamang suspension, kundi tanggalin na ito. Yung reduction will definitely benefit not only our transport sector, but even our fisher folk who also utilize gasoline for their pump boats. At gayon din yung ating mga magsasaka na gumagamit din ng gasolina sa kanilang pagsasaka. Kung kaya't Mr. Speaker, we do support and sponsor this bill for the benefit of our people who are suffering from high prices of oil products. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, considering that there are no member who wishes to interpolate the sponsors, may I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate?
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill 10488?
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we proceed with the approval of the measures on third reading.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 1322 on third reading and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure.
Secretary General, please read.
1322, sir, yung sinabi. 103. Yun na yung
Session suspended.
pero ang pinasa kasi niya 103.
Mr. Speaker,
Sir, ito daw kung muna ko lang. Wala akong copy na.
Session resumes.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that I amend my earlier motion and instead consider House Bill 1044 on third and final reading and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the said measure.
Any objection? Chair
And
hears.
thereafter, call the roll for nominal voting.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Secretary General, please read.
House Bill number 10444, an act converting the municipality of Baliwag in the province of Bulacan into a component city to be known as the City of Baliwag. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 10444. Abante, Abaya, Bellanosa, Abu, Abeg, Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Costa Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Gabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez, France, Alvarez, Genaro, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amante, Matba, Matong, Angara, Aragones, Arbizon, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Omentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas, Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista, Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Beron, Bolilla, Bondoc, Guardado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro France, Castro, Fredenil, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarni, Celeste, Chato, Chepeco, Chunggalaw, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Co Wangco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, De Maporo Abdullah, De Maporo Cali, Duavit Duhali Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian, Ebca Secleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero Espina, Espina Australia, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis Flores, Fortun Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron Goed, Gomark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halosos, Javier, Jimenez, Ko Eliza, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel Nograles, Jericho, Nograles, Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez, Malanaon, Uwaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Roni, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano, Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Martin, Romualdez Sieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvador Tambunting, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Savellano, Xiao Silverio, Singson, Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, si Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tan Alaysa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Balmayor, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikorat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 10444. Abante, Abaya, Begsaldivar, Abunda, Costa, Costa Alba, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Alonte, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Aumentado, Bagatsing, Baños Nograles, Baronda, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kanama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari Castelo, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarni, Celeste Chungalauco, Angelica, Cojuangco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cua, Dalipe, Daza, De Jesus de Venecia, Defensor Michael, Dimaporo Cali, Duavit, Duhali, Di Faustino, Enverga, Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gonzaga, Gonzales Sandro, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Haloshos, Jimenez, Konghun, Lacson, Lagon, Liachon, Legarda, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanaon, Uwaminal, Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Rivera, Roman, Romero, Romualdo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Salceda, Salimbangon, Sangcopan, Savellano, Silverio, Mihan, Sinsuat, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, si Alvarado, Talyado, Tan Alaysa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Maria Victoria, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Eduardo, Villar, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yu Zubiri.
With 164 members voting in the affirmative, 0 negative, 0 abstentions, House Bill number 10444 is now approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10322 on third reading and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Secretary General.
House Bill 10322, an act ensuring the effectiveness of official development assistance, loans, and grants, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 8182, otherwise known as the Official Development Assistance Act of 1996 as amended. Roll call of members for consideration of House Bill number 10322. Abante Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu Abeg Saldivar, Abunda Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo Albano, Almario, Alonte Alvarez, Franz Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas, Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte Benitez, Bernos, Biason Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabutsan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarne, Larni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Coangco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Colyamat, Dagook, Guadalupe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, de Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, de Los Santos, de Los Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavid, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebka Secleo Elago, Enverga Erice Erigel, Ermita Buhain Escudero Espina, Espino Estrella Fariñas Ria Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez Fernando Ferrer Juliet Ferrer Luis, Flores Fortun Fortuno Frasco Frentebella Gaiti,
Mr.
Garvin.
Speaker, I vote yes, and I would like to explain my vote after the call of for the nominal vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Noted.
Garcia, Jose Enrique Garcia, Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya Gatchalian Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales, Aurelio Gonzales, Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gullas, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez Herrera D, Hofer, Losho, Xavier, Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacsonoel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara Lasatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Mariano, Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Momo, Natividad, Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles, Jericho, Nograles Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez, Malañaon, Waminal Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano, Dizon, Pacquiao, Alberto Pacquiao, Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez, Hato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romaldes, Martin, Romaldes, Yeda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvador Tambunting, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Savellano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinswat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando Valeriano, Balmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva, Eduardo, Villanueva, Noel, Villar, Villarasa, Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap, Eric, Yap, Victor, Yu, Zamora, Ronaldo Zamora, Waikurat Zamora, Sarate, Subiri.
Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 10322. Abante Abaya, Begsaldivar Abunda, Costa, Costa Alba, Garaw Aglipay, Alonte, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Aumentada, Bagatsing, Banyas, Nograles, Baronda, Bernos, Biazon, Bilyones, Biron, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kanama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Cayetano, Alan, Cayetano, Laarni, Celeste, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Cojuangco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cuwa, Delipe, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, De Maporo, Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Di Faustino, Enverga, Erice, Ermita Buhay, Espino, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando Flores, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gonzaga, Gonzales Sandro, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Haloso, Jimenez, Conghun, Lacson, Lagon, Leachon, Legarda, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Nograles, Juan, Nolasco, Nunez, Malañaon, Owaminal, Ordanes, Pacquiao, Alberto, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Rivera, Roman Romero, Romualdo Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Salceda, Sangcopan, Sabeliano, Silverio, Singson Mihan, Sinsuwat, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Si Alvarado, Talyado, Tan Alaisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Shorny, Tejada, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Maria Victoria, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villar, Villarica, Villago, Yak Victor, U. Zubiri.
With 166 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 abstentions, House Bill number 10322 is now approved on third reading. Representative Gaite, you may now explain your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Majority Floor Leader, esteemed members of the House of Representatives of the 18th Congress, I vote a resounding yes to House Bill 10322, or an act ensuring the effectiveness of official development assistance loans and grants, amending for this purpose Republic Act Number 8182, otherwise known as the Official Development Assistance Act of 1996 as amended. Said bill is the substitute bill to House Bill 7963, filed this representation of Bayan Muna and the Makabayan Coalition, which are very good chairperson of the Ways and Means Committee and 2nd District of Albay Representative Joey Sate Salceda, shepherded for approval. The approval of this bill will ensure the proper utilization of all the loans and grants, emphasize the promotion and achievement of sustained reduction of poverty and inequality, supporting enjoyment of human rights, democracy, environmental sustainability, and gender equality. More so, all the loans shall adhere to the principles of democratic ownership and mutual accountability, require social and economic evaluation, and participation of civil society organizations to the impact of ODA projects, among others. It is for the reasons, Mr. Speaker, that my vote is yes. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill 10442 on third reading and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measure and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Secretary General.
House Bill number 10442, an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Air Philippines Corporation, doing business under the name and style of Airphil Express, PAL Express, and Philippine Airlines, under Republic Act number 8339 as amended by Republic Act number 9215, entitled An Act Granting Air Philippines Corporation, Air Philippines, a franchise to establish, operate, and maintain domestic and international air transport services. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 10442. Abante, Abaya, Villanosa, Abu, Abeg, Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Costa Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Gabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Matong Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Baños Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabuchan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredinil, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarni, Celeste Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Co Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Cojuangco, Coliantes, Crisologo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Tagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalla, De Maporo Abdullah, De Maporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhayin, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garcia, Pablo Jan, Garcia, Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Goed, Gomark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, D. Hofer, Halosos, Javier Jimenez, Co. Elisa, Co. Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lakson, Lakson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatong, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marinho, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava Nieto, Noel Nograles Jericho, Nograles Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez Malanaon, Uwaminal Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Martin, Romualdez Sieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvador Tambunting, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Savellano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuwat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Taduran Talyado, Tan Alaysa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 10442. Abante, Abaya, Beg, Saldivar, Abunda, Costa, Costa Alba, Garaw, Aglipay, Alonte, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Aumentada, Bagatsing, Baños Nograles, Baronda, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kanama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Cayetano, Alan, Cayetano, Laarni, Celeste, Chungalaw, Co, Angelica, Cojuangco, Coliantes, Crisologo, Cuwa, Delipe, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Michael, Di Maporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Di Faustino Ino, Enverga, Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando Flores, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Vincent, Garin Sharon, Gatchalian, Gonzaga, Gonzales Sandro, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Halosos, Jimenez, Konghun, Lacson, Lagon, Leachon, Legarda, Mangawang, Mangudadatong, Marcoleta, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanaon, Uwaminal, Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Panotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo Rivera, Roman Romero, Romualdo Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Salceda, Sangcopan, Savellano, Silverio, Singson Mihan, Sinsuwat, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Si Alvarado, Talyado, Tan Alaysa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves, Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali, Maria Victoria, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villar, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu Zubiri.
With 168 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 10442 is now approved on third reading.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bills 10349, 10350, 10454 clustered under establishments of tourism and ecotourism zones and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the measures and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Secretary General, please read all three titles.
House Bill number 349, an act declaring the Cafe Boyador Lighthouse located in the municipality of Burgos, province of Ilocos Norte, a tourism destination, providing for its development and appropriating funds therefor. House Bill number 10350, an act declaring Barangay San Miguel in the municipality of Itiague, province of Isabela, an ecotourism zone and appropriating funds therefor. House Bill number 10454, an act declaring the Puyot Springs National Park located in Barangay Santa Victoria, City of Ilagan, Province of Isabela, an ecotourism destination, providing for its development and appropriating funds therefor. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 10349, 10350, and House Bill number 10454. Abante Abaya Abellanosa, Abu Abeg Saldivar, Abunda Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong Advincola Agabas, Agaraw Aglipay, Aguinaldo Albano, Almario Alonte, Olivares Franz, Alvarez Enaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong Angara, Aragones Arbison Arenas, Arroyo Atienza Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing Balindong, Banyas Nograles Barba Barbers, Baronda Barsaga Bascug, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte Benitez Bernos, Piason Billones Biron, Bolilla Bondok, Bordado Bravo Brosas Bulot, Bustos Kabatbat Kabutsan, Cabredo Cagas Calderon, Calixto Caminero Campos, Canama Kagwagdan, Cardema Cari Castelo Castro Franz Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarne, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Coangco Collantes, Crisologo Cua, Quaresma, Cueva Colyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael de los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Di Maporo Abdullah, Di Maporo Cali, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian, Ebgas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Rigel, Ermita, Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas, Ria, Fariñas, Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer, Juliet, Ferrer, Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garcia, Pablo John, Garcia, Vincent, Garin, Janet, Garin, Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Goed, Gomart, Gonzaga, Gonzales, Aurelio, Gonzales, Neptali, Gonzales, Sandro, Goriseta, Gueco, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Los Hos, Javier, Jimenez, Co, Elisa, Co, Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lakson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lasatin, Liachon, Ligarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Makapagal, Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Momo, Natividad, Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles, Jericho, Nograles, Fidel, Nolasco, Nunez, Malanyaon, Waminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Wano, Tison, Pacquiao, Alberto, Pacquiao, Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez, Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman Romero, Romualdez, Martin, Romualdez, Yeda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Silimbangon, Salo, Salvador, Tambunting, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Savellano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Mihan, Sinswat, Swansing, Estrelita, Swansing Horacio Suarez Aleta, Suarez David Suntay, C. Alvarado Taduran, Talyado, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Victoria, Unabia Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando Valeriano Valmayor, Vargas Alfonso Velasco Veloso Vergara, Villaferte Villanueva, Eduardo Villanueva Noel, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica Villago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu Zamora, Ronaldo Zamora Waikurat, Sarate, and Zubiri. Second call in consideration on third reading of House Bill 10349, 10350, and House Bill 10454. Abante Abaya Abeg Saldivar Abunda Acosta, Acosta Alba, Agaraw Aglipay, Alonte Alvarez Pantaleon Amatong, Arenas Aumentado, Bagatsing Banyas Nugrales, Baronda Biason, Billones, Biron, Bulot Bustos, Kabatbat, Panama, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Cayetano Alan, Cayetano Laarni, Celeste, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica, Coanco Collantes, Crisologo Cuba, Dalipe, Daza de Jesus de Venecia, Defensor Michael Di Maporo Cali, Duavit, Duhali, Di Faustino Ino, Enverga Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez Fernando Flores, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Vincent, Garin Sharon, Gatchalian Gonzaga, Gonzales Sandro Guya, Haresco Hataman Halosos Jimenez, Conghon, Lacson Lagon, Leachon Ligarda, Manawang Mangudadato Marculeta, Marino Marquez Martinez Matba, Mendoza, Nograles Juan Nolasco, Nunez Malañao Nuaminal Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Banotes, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Kimbo, Rivera, Roman Romero, Romualdo Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Salceda, Sangkupan, Savellano, Silverio, Singson, Mihan, Sinsuat, Suarez, Aleta, Suarez David, si Alvarado Talyado, Tan Alaisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sherian, Tan Sherny, Tijada, Teves Jose, Chanco Tolentino, Torres Gomez, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Maria Victoria, Uy Juliet, Veloso Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva, Eduardo Villar, Villarica, Violago, Yu, and Zubiri.
With 164 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 6 abstentions, House Bill numbers 10349, 10350, and 10454 are now approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I move for the to reconsider the approval of House Bill 10334 on second reading? So move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to reconsider the approval of House Bill 10334 on second reading. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Resolution 2356, 2359, and 2360 and adopt the same?
Tatlo. Secretary General, please read the title.
House Resolution 2356. Resolution expressing the profound condolences of the House of Representatives to the family of Honorable Conrado V. Apacible, former representative of the 1st Legislative District of Batangas during the 8th Congress.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we adopt the same?
Any objection? Chair hears none. HR 2356 is in consolidation with HR 1543 are hereby adopted. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolutions 2356 in consolidation with HR 1543 is now adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Resolution 2359. Direct the Secretary General to read the title of the same.
Secretary General.
House Resolution 2359, resolution expressing the profound condolences of the House of Representatives to the family of the Honorable Peter Paul Jed Cosmiano Falcon, former representative of the 2nd Legislative District of Surigao del Sur during the 13th Congress.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that the same be adopted?
There's a motion to adopt House Resolution 2359. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution 2359 is hereby adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Resolution 2360 in consolidation with House Resolution 1775 and direct the Secretary General to read the title of the said resolution.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Secretary General, please read.
House Resolution 2360, resolution expressing the deepest sympathies of the House of Representatives to the family of Honorable Henry Y. Regalado, former representative of Misamis Occidental, in the regular Batasan Pambansa from 1984 to 1986, and of Oroquieta City under Region 10 in the interim Batasan Pambansa from 1978 to 1984, and member of the Batasang Bayan from 1976 to 1977.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that the same be adopted?
There's a motion.
In consolidation with House Resolution 1775.
There's a motion to adopt House Resolution 2360 in consolidation with House Resolution 1775. Those who are in favor, please say aye. Those who are against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution 2360 in consolidation with House Resolution 1775 is hereby adopted.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we include additional co-authors to House Bills number 10373, 10488, and 10521 as contained in the list to be submitted by the Committee on Rules.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we adjourn until 2 p.m. November 23.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Session is adjourned until tomorrow, 2 p.m. November 23, 2021.
Recording stopped.